What's going on, guys? This is Oliver, formerly from Response AI and now from getseer.com, tricomb.com. In this video, I wanted to talk to you guys about maximizing SaaS revenue, so making more money in your SaaS, but doing it by basically making more money per customer, I suppose, Essentially, it's very hard to get new customers for a software. It is very easy, actually, to upsell existing customers to make more money per customer. And in general, this video is going to be about using systems to make more money as a whole, not just per customer and things like that, but reducing churn, obviously increasing impact and that kind of thing, and just making more money, guys. So solo founders of SaaS operate in this paradox that you have the agility of like a pirate ship, but the firepower of a canoe effectively. So unlike teams, you have I suppose dedicated growth departments, product support, that kind of thing. Your advantage lies in being intimate with your customers, right? So the ability to know every user inside and out, understanding how they affect the whole body of your business. And but obviously being intimate with people and being friendly won't pay the bills, right? So to thrive, you need to create systems that turn users into predictable revenue. And obviously you've got to preserve that human touch, because that's why people use your software as a solo founder versus a big, incumbent company like Salesforce. They're going to use you because you are personal, right? So this isn't about just squeezing dollars from users. It's about aligning, their success with yours. So Patrick Campbell of ProfitWell said something around the lines of, the best pricing strategy is where customers feel like they're underpaying for what they buy, right? So this alignment is really crucial, and it's crucial to your existence as a SaaS and your survival as a SaaS. So let's talk about how to manage this and how to get more money from customers, how to make people happier, right? So basically, there's something called time compression, which is from the first click to the first value. So the faster users experience results, the more they'll pay to keep them. So the 15-minute rule. A study by Paddle found that users who achieve a meaningful outcome within 15 minutes of onboarding have a 73% higher lifetime value. To hit this window, you need to do a couple of things. You need to preempt decision fatigue. So strip onboarding the customer to one irreversible action. So for example, a solo founder's, AI copywriting tool, right? It'll ask users to generate their first bit of writing or their first page or their first website or whatever, the first piece of content before even seeing the dashboard, right? So you haven't even got your account set up. There's no support, there's no tutorials. It's just a blank field. Now, then what you would do is you would mimic high touch onboarding with these smart defaults. So for example, a project management tool could auto create a new dashboard that said my first, project or things like that. And it's populated with dummy tasks and things like that. And it mirrors the user's industry. So on the onboarding, what I typically do is ask what industry they are, and then that will affect how they get treated in the onboarding. Now, the decision fatigue strategy is because people do need more guidance than you think they do. You have to act like they're sort of like children. That's not a mean thing to say. It makes you more money to treat people really sort of like ground level, And the decision fatigue and reducing decision fatigue means that your customers will get what they want quicker if you force them down, like one route. And then with the customization, it means that they feel like this app has been built for them. Now, there's something else called the progress bar hack, which is to borrow from fitness apps. Basically, you show a setup that says 20% complete, and every time you click, it fills up a bit further. And this creates like this linear progress, and people always want to close that open loop of having like an incomplete progress bar, right? Users crave completion, and they'll chase the dopamine hit of a fully onboarded status and like a badge, even if it's fabricated, all those green ticks. I do this with getseer.com. How you set up the tool is that you first enter your website and explanation about your product. Then you press next, and the bar completes 30%. And there's 3 steps, so that's 33%. From there, then you give your keywords, and then the final thing is you launch the thing. So it goes 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. And how that works is that it's training your users to get to the result, and you're rewarding them for it with like a visual progress, and it's very, very powerful. A real world example is that MailScribe, which is like an email analytics tool, they increased trial to paid conversion by 29% by analyzing users' existing email drafts during onboarding, right? And what they did then is they gave them like a progress score and like a status on where they were at. And it meant that they would be enthusiastic to improve that score. So it just basically took all their email drafts and then analyzed them with AI, ChatGPT, and then it effectively said your subject line scores 44 or whatever, upgrade to see why. So you see how what that's doing is it's creating an open loop, and it's saying, look, you need to close this open loop by progressing to the next stage. And that's how you're going to get people to stay in your app and pay, Now, strategies to apply. So tiered pricing as a narrative. So your pricing page isn't a menu. It's a story about the user's future self and the user's kind of like work day and the user's way of doing what they do, right? Now, the missing feature paradox is that there's 2025 SaaS pricing psychology. It reveals a counterintuitive truth, right? That excluding a key feature from your base tier can increase upgrades if the omission feels like a natural progression, right? So in other words, if you remove something from the base tier and you put it in the middle tier, if people see that as a clear progression to the next stage of how they do their work with your SaaS, they're likely to upgrade. Now, the collaboration tax, which is base tiers of productivity tools, they lack team features, right? So things like Notion and stuff. But this can be intentional. So for solopreneurs who want to focus without distractions, right? Then the upgrades become about protecting their workflow. See what I mean? So not buying features. So what you can do is reverse anchoring. So you can list your highest tier first. A solo founder's AI legal document tool, whatever, might show enterprise $999 a month at the top, and then followed by Pro $299 and Starter $99, right? Users anchor to the highest price, making the mid-tier seem reasonable, even if 90%, guys, of your revenue comes from Starter, right? This is a really, really common trick used by multi-million dollar companies. The next thing is the Trojan Horse metric, right? So charge for what users want to become, not what they are. So social media scheduler, Publer, charges per social profile, which appears to users aspiring to be influencers. So you see how this is a per X metric, right? So what you could do is you could charge per project or per profile or per launch or per campaign or whatever. A solo founder's design tool could charge per client project instead of seats, right? Which targets freelancers, and the more clients they get, the more they upgrade and the more they pay you. So you see how you are on this linear journey with the customer to make more money, because when they make more money, you do as well, because they're paying you more. And this also means that it's a really nice deal for newcomers, and they'll just stay on your app because they're like, oh, this is great, because it's cheap. Philosophical underpinning is that this taps into the theory of the hooked user from Nir Eyal, right, which is align pricing with identity, not utility. So users don't buy features, they buy the next version of themselves in their work or their business or their play, just anything that they do in their marriage, in their relationship, in their career. They're buying the next step, guys. Now, the invisible upsell, designing revenue and putting this into workflows. So the best monetization doesn't feel like a sales pitch, guys, and like being like, oh, this is the best. It feels like a natural next step. Something called the endowment effect in SaaS, which is once users invest time in your product, they overvalue it, right? So place paid features at the end of workflows they've already committed to. Okay, so a CRM tool could let users build a full sales pipeline and then require an upgrade to activate AI follow-ups. You see how they've already built the sales pipeline. They understand that that's important. But if they want AI follow-ups, this seems like a natural progression to the next step in their workflow and in how they do business. A solo founder's accounting app might allow unlimited invoices, but then lock branding of the PDFs behind a paywall after the user has, created invoices for 10 clients. I'll just have a quick drink. This is poison, by the way. Do not drink this, but I drink them every day. Now, basically, from that perspective, you're in the process of understanding the linear and sort of quite binary journey of a customer, which is that they join your SaaS, they grow as a person and as a career person or as a business owner or whatever, as a freelancer, as an agency. And ideally, the best businesses, you grow with them, So with Zoom, for example, if you do a lot of Zoom calls, you are going to grow with Zoom because the more people that you get involved with and the more people you call, the more colleagues you have on these team calls, you're going to pay Zoom more because the plans go up and up and up. And that's why Zoom are worth tens of billions, is because they grow with the user and they grow with the user's identity. Okay. Now, the $100 an hour button. So Cal Newport, who wrote Deep Work, is a pretty good book. The philosophy applies here. Charge for time saved. So this is another idea. If your tool automates a task that takes users 5 hours a week, you can calculate the hourly rate by upgrading, right? You calculate the hourly rate they're earning back by upgrading. So example, save 2.5 hours, save 20 hours monthly, for example, which is like paying $30 an hour, whatever, to get, your data backed up, for example, auto backups, because backing up data takes time. So what you can do is make sure that you are effectively charging a reasonable amount for what the person will save if they upgrade, okay? So just have a think about how that would sort of work into your software. The anti-churn architecture, okay? So we're going to talk now about keeping customers, because it's very, very important, maximizing revenue, because the easiest revenue comes from keeping customers, right? So for solo founders, retention is part of product design. It's not a department right now. We do not have a team that reduce churn. We do not have a team that improves retention, because we're solo founders, guys. We don't have that sort of like logistical power yet. The churn immunization sequence. So pre-churn, use bare bones analytics like Mixpanel or Metabase to spot micro churn signals. So an example is logging in but not clicking anything, downgrading a plan but not canceling. Okay, so we've talked about this a lot. If people are logging in and not clicking on things, or they're clicking on things and not going to the next step, that is a problem, guys. And or if they're downgrading but not canceling, is also a problem. Now, the Lazarus email, which I've talked about before, send a plain text email from your founder's account labeled as from Oliver or from Steve or from Louise or from Jess or whatever, right? Notice you haven't used feature X in a while. Can I help? There's no templates, no branding, just human to human. And this is what you can check on the analytics platforms like Mixpanel or Supabase. You can use that kind of thing, right? An example is that I check every other day if people have logged into getseer.com and not added keywords. If they haven't added keywords, I email them manually, because there's only like 1 or 2 a day, right? And I say, why haven't you added your keywords, Steve? And they go, oh, because the box is broken or something. I'm like, oh, so there's a bug, but you haven't told me about it. Or they say, I don't really understand what keywords to add. And that's time for me to add value. Okay, Steve, what do you do? I run an agency that helps people with Google Ads. Okay, so maybe your keywords could be Google Ads, Google Analytics, go-to-market strategy, paid ads, meta ads, that kind of thing. And then I give them that, and they get along, and they just start, getting use of the tool, because I spotted that they could have churned if they'd never added keywords, because they're not getting any value from the tool if they didn't add keywords. The equity ask, if they insist on leaving, request feedback as a co-developer. So say, look, not as a founder, but as a developer, do you mind sharing one thing that we could fix, right? So if I'm just building the product now on my own, I'm a solo guy, this flips the power dynamic, because they're advising, not rejecting. So they're not like rejecting the tool. I don't know why that fucking photo has disappeared, but that's annoying. I'll see if it loads in now. No, it's just not going to load in. So the uncancel survey, when a user cancels, show a form asking what's the primary reason. And, Stripe does this automatically when they cancel, right? You should always have the billing inside, effectively inside your tool. If we fix this in the next 90 days, will you come back? And this does double duty, identifies fixable issues, guys, and then creates a psychological contract, because they're like, oh, I'm part of the fix here. Like, I'm part of helping Oliver build a better software. Do you see what I mean? Now, the solo founders monetization philosophy, right? So at its core, increasing ARPU, which is average revenue per user, is about strategic empathy. So you're not optimizing for metrics, you're engineering a system where users want to pay you more because it's in their self-interest. You're not like forcing them, you're not bribing them. This requires a mindset shift from maker to economist. So where every feature, email, pricing page, lever you pull, new thing you add to the tool, it's in a closed loop system, right? And you can borrow from Warren Buffett's moat concept, which is you build monetization so intrinsic to the user experience that competitors can't replace it without replicating you, so that they have to really, really build something special. Our moat for Response AI was that we got on loads of support calls. You literally had access to me 24 hours of the day, because I just didn't sleep much and didn't eat much. And I would say, look, like, let's get on a call to make you more money. Let's get on a call to get you more deals. Let's get you on a call to help you win, okay? If you are intrinsic to the victory of a user, then they're not going to cancel your software, guys. Now, hyper-personalization, right? So, like monetizing through really high-level personalization. So the future is like really in AI. It's about individualized pricing because you can use AI to dynamically fit pricing. So a 2024 MIT study found that SaaS companies using AI-driven personalized pricing saw 19% higher average revenue per customer without increasing the churn, right? This is basing prices on outcomes achieved, not features used, right? So in other words, like what we talked about earlier, per project or per campaign or per seat or things like that, those things are charging based off of the intrinsic value that a user gets from the software. Now, the end of one size fits all. So the Uber surge, if a user's usage spikes, you can auto offer a temporary like high output mode. So I know that a lot of tools do this. Cursor does this. The coding tool, it says like, do you want more auto completes and stuff like that? Because they know that you are like doing a lot of coding. You can frame it as a concierge service. So you're cranking it out this week, doing really well. You're busy. Unthrottle exports or like get this or get that for an extra $40. And then it'll be back to normal next Monday or that kind of thing. So keep an eye on users who are using your tool a lot and see if there's any upsell opportunities to give them more value, but to make them more money and make you more money. Then there's a few different tools. Some tools do like profit sharing. So for enterprise tier users, you can take a percentage of their revenue increase. A solo founder's SEO tool could charge 10% of a client's traffic growth, whatever it may be. High risk, high reward. I don't recommend this for like newcomers, but it's only if you're confident in the impact that you give to customers. So TinyFlow did this. I think they charged something like 2% of deals closed, and ARPU obviously jumped 300% among the freelancers who saw the fee as like a good luck tax. Do you know what I mean? Now, back to the Trojan Horse theory, is the Trojan Horse tier. So you can create a bespoke plan that's hidden in plain sight, right? So when a user hits 80% of their plan's limit, you show a modal. You're in the top 10% of users, unlock a custom plan tailored to your workflow, right? Then you would collect, say, a couple of preferences, you get on a call with them, and then you auto-generate, a price 50% above their current plan, whatever it may be. Now, this mirrors Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, which is that you design systems that gain from user variability. So in other words, your SaaS should behave well with how people progress. It shouldn't like alienate them. It shouldn't stifle them. It shouldn't choke them out. It should be like, oh, you're growing, so I'll grow as well. You see how you are, like we talked about, you're always growing with the user. Now, another one is about community-driven price hikes. So making users your sales team, right? So your most loyal users don't just pay, they advocate, guys. They are champions for your software, and you can turn them into stakeholders. So the member delegator model. So when raising prices, you can borrow from Substack's community round concept, right? You pre-announce hikes to your price to a customer advisory board. There's say like 10 people in there. You let them beta test new features that are tied to the increase. And then you offer affiliate commissions to those people on launch so that they can tell more people about the new version of your product, that kind of thing, right? Now, it's not super problematic to do this, but it is obviously like, it is a tough one to sort of, I suppose, pull off, because you have to have people that love your tool, right? Like clay.com or Figma, they have communities that love their tools. You've got to build a really, really special product for people to like advocate for it, Then you've got user-funded development. So you can use Kickstarter-style feature bounty. So 20 votes will build dark mode, 50 votes will give API access. And you can charge voters a non-refundable bet that converts to credit if the goal is hit. Like just be like creative, guys. Like, how can I get my community involved in how my product is shaped? Because ultimately they're the ones that use the product the most. You're going to love your product regardless because it's your baby and it's your child and you love it. Like, it's like, you've built it, but you don't know the ins and outs. You don't know how people are using your tool. So an example is solo founded tool -- funded its entire mobile app via bounties. Users who contributed to those bounties felt ownership, and it led to 89% retention post-launch, right? So try and find ways to, even if it's just emailing your users saying how is the tool going, what feedback do you have, and then adding them to a WhatsApp group, like anything like that. We had a little group on Slack for Response AI where people would join and say, hey, I found this bug or this, that, the other. And people would talk to each other about strategies. It was like 20 people inside of Slack. It was amazing. Because like you're in that position of like, okay, my users are now talking amongst each other and building a community without my say so, which is amazing. Now, ethical profit loops, so where user success funds your growth. So profit loops are better than growth loops. So build self-reinforcing systems where helping users make money makes you money. So the recursive revenue model, a newsletter tool takes 5% of a user subscription revenue. So for example, the course that I run, it is on a platform that charges me per person that signs up, and that's fine because it scales with them, it scales with me, and it's absolutely fine because you're like, okay, that's how I'm going to grow the business. And then the bigger you get, the less they charge because they're making more money off you anyway because you got bigger. A coaching platform might auto invest 10% of its fees into Google Ads, which takes a 25% cut on new signups. So basically, you are creating a revenue model that scales with the customer, like we've talked about. Users see you as a partner, not a vendor. So borrowing from Platform Revolution by Parker et al., this mirrors how Alibaba's lenders profit only when merchants do. So have a think about that, guys. Have a think about how you can build a tool that grows with your customer, right? The next thing is ethical profit loops in the sort of position of anti-churn, right? So turn cancellations into upsides. When a user downgrades, you can offer to pause their plan. This is quite popular in SaaS, but keep their data active for say 30% off, right? If they return within 30 days or 90 days, you can back charge the difference, or you don't have to. Psychologically, this feels like they haven't canceled your tool, but they're taking a pause and they're taking a break from it. And it's not a penalty, but like a safety net. And it shows that you care about their data, shows that you care about their tool or what they've done or their projects, and you are saving potentially a cancellation. Now, you can't talk to everyone, but you can listen to everything, right? So the silent feedback funnel. Embed a micro survey in low effort moments. So after exporting a file, it says, was this easier than last time? Or during loading screens, which emoji describes your mood today? Or whatever it may be, right? And you can see these like mobile apps when you log into them, they say, oh, how are you finding Uber? And you're like, well, you fucking ignore it. But the whole point is that you're in this position where as your users are using the tool and going through the tool, they're being asked questions that obviously auto-populate on your back-end server and says, look, Steve at gmail.com does not like the tool because of this problem, or he doesn't like this or that. You can use AI to pass open-ended responses into feature requests. So if someone says, oh, the app is a bit slow, then you can obviously make sure that you pop down in your notes and in your to-do list for the week of development and coding that your app is slow, right? Pro tip is to tag users who submit feedback all the time with hashtag vocal in your CRM, or flag them in some way. When you build their suggested feature, notify them personally, and they'll feel heard and locked in, and they'll feel like they're part of the growth of your tool, Now, churn autopsies. So feed cancellation survey data into ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Claude, and then ask it, what is the number one fixable reason that users leave, and which upsell could I build that would prevent this churn? So Elena Kostova used this on her app Userbird. So the AI found that lack of Zapier integration was a churn driver for 31% of users. She built it, then emailed the leavers. You asked, we delivered, come back for 3 months, right? And 22% of them reactivate, which is very, very clever, guys. But at scale, these tactics converge into a philosophy. You build a business that thrives only when users do. It's strategic self-interest, guys. So I care that you win, but it means that if you win, I get loads of money, right? It's very, very simple. Like Warren Buffett's forever stocks, your goal is to create revenue streams even a lazy owner couldn't ruin, right? You're not building a startup, you're crafting livelihood and you're getting people more money or saving time. Revenue per user isn't a vanity metric or some made-up thing. It's the oxygen allowing you to stay solo and sane and keep solving problems for people you like, right? You got to go make someone's workflow 10 times easier and charge them 1% of what it's worth. And that is what I have to say, guys, for this video. Obviously, when it comes to implementing all of these things, it's going to be slow. You're going to have to get a lot of feedback from customers. You're going to have to get a lot of feedback from people who have signed up to your tool early on and said, look, I don't really know what I'm doing. You are in the business of creating a software that makes people's lives easier and makes them more money or saves them more time or makes their relationship better or makes their business better or gets them more sales or, holds their data securely, whatever it may be. Our job is to make sure that these people are served properly and make sure that they actually make money. If you just have something that doesn't really align with their business, it doesn't really align with where they want to be in the next, year or two, they will churn because you are not part of their process. All of the apps that we use day to day, it can all be boiled down to the fact that it's part of our habit and part of our philosophy as a person. So when I want to relax, I watch Netflix, right? When I want to make money, I use Twitter and I use Facebook and I use YouTube. When I want to get fit, I use MyFitnessPal and I track my calories and I track, my fucking calories or my heart rate on a watch, Apple Watch. All of these things are part of my identity now, so I'll never churn from them or cancel them. So that's what you've got to optimize for, guys. Go out and do it, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.